the Sad Dads Club podcast. Here's everybody's favorite sad dads, Jim and Boo.
I swear, it's like 5 o'clock comes around and I'm like, okay, I'm starting early. So that way, what did I forget last week? Oh, it was that the cables for the cameras weren't plugged in.
Oh. Hey, you know, it's
like, what the
it's okay.
Fuck.
Because I will come and help. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but now it's like one of those little fucking games where it's like
a niggly thing.
Right. It's like
well, actually, it's
one day there will be a show where you show up, you do your part with the plug-in, the mic check, the formatting, and then we'll do a test thing, and it will be like,
wow,
we did it.
That went. But that's how it is every time. It's a sort of a game for me. Like, okay, what else needs to get put? It's okay.
Right,
I'm not mad.
Okay,
because it's a shared thing.
It's all locked in. Oh fuck, my light wasn't on this time. Oh fuck, your light wasn't on this time.
It's funny because
I forgot to plug the lav mics.
The lights I don't even think about. So when you said that light wasn't on, I hadn't even considered the fact that the light wasn't on.
It was weird because it's just a hair under the brim.
Yeah.
So it was like took a conscious like, did I plug it in? Because I'm trying to also do like the pre-check shit, like with the batteries. Like, I recharge everything early.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you've got recharging to worry. It's like if I come in and you don't have the cameras set up, or if this isn't done, or whatever, if things aren't done, it's like you've already. Well, you know what I mean. You've already got the table out here. You got the mics going. Yeah, like things are happening. Just because you didn't have the attention to detail for the moment doesn't matter. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And when I come in, half the time you're not even in here, I just start I try to get it all, whatever I can figure out's not done. That's what I try to do.
What did he forget? I'll start making a list here.
I'll be like, we're missing a headphone or something. And that happens. It's fine. I don't even say anything.
Fuck. Fucking.
It is what it is.
Hey, welcome to Sad Dads Club Podcast, episode 191, where we rattle off pre-show checklist foobars.
Right here on the show.
I'm the Lord Foo.
I'm Jim. And man, I had a busy weekend. How about you? What was your weekend like? I don't even...
I only have little rinky-dinky things. Oh. Something tells me once we get started on yours, we can go. I had...
We'll never finish.
Yeah, because there are so many Spawn things I was going through relative to yours. I had quickie stuff. So the Planet Fitness, did you see the signs for 14 to 18-year-olds, their summer program?
No, sir.
They only had it out there for like maybe a couple days. And it was, I think it's free with options for a scholarship program to like at the end of the summer for high school students. So you come to the gym and I don't know how it works, but Venus and I had.
It's for just working out?
Yeah. Oh. To like get kids
involved.
It probably started on something, so that way
they're like, come work out.
Yeah, and then your membership starts in September. You having fun?
Yeah.
So we told the kids, Piper's semi-interested, probably more for the hydro massage. But we've been joking like, hey, if you want to come, there's no preconceptions about what you need to do. But we floated it to both kids.
Did you tell Xander they didn't have a video game area?
Yeah, there's no stand desks, so I didn't know. Where were we at? I think Piper had she had a dance show, and Xander and I are just kind of killing time amongst like waiting outside the auditorium for the line to let us in, and he like casually mentions, he's like, so what were the dates for that gym thing? And I went, I don't remember. It was June something and to somewhere. And he went, because I think I'd like to do that. And
was he doing this? Like,
yeah. And I went, okay. And he's like, because I should probably do something else this summer besides sit on my ass. And I went,
wow.
well, fucking okay. Like
Wait, are you my son?
right. The self-awareness in his statement, like, I was like,
who are you?
Okay. Like, I ain't never said, I mean, we joke.
Did you fall out of the car and someone replaced
right,
you?
Did someone hit you in the head? But it was like, okay, fucking okay. He doesn't, neither of the kids do, sports of any fashion. So he has nothing to gain out, like, I'm getting ready for football season or something.
Right.
It would be just to be I'm like,
maybe you didn't know he's like the next big thing in WWE.
Right. But I'm like, fucking absolutely. I'll talk to your mother because I'm sure she's got those details because your sister, I think, was half interested, but did not approach it like that. Like he was down. I'm like, all right. So then we got done with the thing, and I told Venus, I'm like, so what was the date for the? Because I think we took a picture of the sign at the front of the gym. I'm like, do you remember what the dates were? She's like, I'm looking for. But I signed them up automatically just to get the emails for when it comes through, like to get the solicitations or whatever, so they can sign up. And she went, why? And I went, your son actually came to me and said that he would be interested in doing it, so that way he wasn't, and I quote, sitting on his ass all summer. And she went, what? And I went, I know. Fucking what?
That's funny. Well, good for him.
We'll see.
Dude's after it.
Yeah. I'm maybe interested in.
He wants to get a 6-pack for like the chicks.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, this is, all you have to do is lower you got a 6-pack there. It's already there. It's a body fat. And he's probably already so fucking lean. If he pulled up his shirt, he's probably got 18 of them.
He's got a 24-pack.
Yeah, he's like, do I crack one of these? We'll see how that goes. Like, DC, Alaska, and then maybe he'll be it'll be nice. And the circuit part of the gym will be perfect for that because I'm not taking him around to machines, and that stuff is all like super proby awesome.
Yeah.
Like
and it's got the directions right there.
Right. So I have a quickie thing. This is like one of those brainworm things.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever run across something? Because this should be short. Have you ever run across something? So you have to get yourself probably into your 20s or so. So you had an understanding of how something worked or how you did something. You had your own pattern of what you knew this thing was. And then someone came along and told you an alternate method, or you saw something that completely turned your own thing on its head, and now you've never done it the way that you were brought up as.
I want to say yes, but I'm totally drawing a blank.
Okay, so here, I'll give you my example.
All right.
I used to know peeling a banana.
Okay.
You pull it off the top,
stem.
And it was like a grenade, right? You started and you just go down because the stem is grabbable.
Right.
You just peel it off. Into my 20s, easy. That's how I peeled a banana.
Sure.
Peeled a banana at the stem.
Yep.
It's a little grenade. Grab the grenade pin, pull it down. I was watching, and I can't tell you, I don't know what it was, like the episode or what program or a movie, but I'm like a Discovery Channel thing on apes, and it was that all jungle apes within regions of where bananas grow naturally open the banana from the bottom,
right.
And all you do is pinch it. Now, I can't tell you how many times I literally crushed the top of the banana trying to get that stem
yes.
to break
Snap.
so that you could pull it. And it's a thing. And I'm watching this show where they say it's a common misconception to open the banana from the top. Because as apes will show you, apes don't open it. They open it from the bottom where they just pinch and pull, and it just
there's even an extra benefit to doing it that way. Is that those little stringies that you get on the side of the banana? Those apparently don't happen if you open it from the bottom.
Oh, I don't know if I've paid attention to that.
I
think I always fight that. But. So I have never.
So you learned something from an ape.
I learned something from an ape, and I have never peeled a banana the other way. It's like, well, there's never any frustration. It always works. It always works.
So what's funny about that is I know this solution. I've never done it.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe it's pride.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I think I've seen TikToks on it. This has been a knowledge thing for a long time, like that this is how you should do it. And I just, for some reason, have never tried it. So it's just like I grab a banana and I just go for it it's unconscious, right?
Oh,
I just go to the stem and like crack it open. And I have the same problem.
Now I pull it off.
And
I can't unsee it.
Where's Tony? It's creating new brain patterns, right?
Yeah, new pathways.
I can't, for some reason, it's just a natural thing to just grab the stem and open it that way.
Okay, so I have one that's it's an embarrassment for me because I'd never really thought about it or paid attention.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a car guy. I've driven many cars.
Right.
Okay. So, do you understand the concept of what 4 on the floor means?
4 on the floor. I think it has to do with the transmission.
It's a manual transmission that's on the floor.
Right.
Or
the shifter's on the floor.
Trans tunnel. Do you know what 3 on the tree means?
Yeah, it's a column shifter, right?
Okay. That's what I thought it was too.
It's not?
It is a manual transmission on the column.
Okay. Yeah.
Not an auto.
Not
an auto.
Wait, not a Prindle.
Right. Not a yes. Park, reverse, neutral, drive, 1, 2
low,
or something.
Yeah.
I had never really, because the cars with an automatic column shifter had the drive 2-1.
Right.
I'd never run into a manual on the column.
They're not as common.
Right.
Right.
So I had never really given it thought. I just thought it was that an automatic the 3 on the tree. And I have heard my dad talk about that fucking at length. Like, yeah. And I said the same thing to Venus the other day because that all stemmed from a Bring a Trailer auction with a 1960 something. I don't remember what it was. And the description was 3 on the tree, but then in like the tiny print on the side, manual transmission. And I went, wait,
that's wrong. That
can't
be.
There's 3 in the tree. So then
then
shit.
It's rabbit hole time.
Oh yeah, absolute donkey punch of like, wow, I cannot believe I didn't know that one. So I Venus, I'm like, you ever driven a car with 3 on the tree, like the column shifter? And she's like, yeah. And I went, and it's manual? And she went, wait, what? 3 on the tree. Yeah. Into drive.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. Okay. But manual with a clutch.
Yeah.
And she went, no. I'm like, that's what 3 on the tree. It's a standard H pattern on the column shifter for the Prindle. You have, I'm like, oh.
It just seems so weird.
I am so fascinated by this concept now because I can't. That would seem so fucking cool to me to be
really
shifting in a stand on the fucking like.
It seems. It just
like,
seems.
Could you
wrong.
imagine jamming into gears while holding one, and you're like.
Yeah, but can't you already do that with a with a stick shift.
Oh yeah, you can. But we're talking, it's like, oh, now I get where, like, the whole one-handed shit has to come from. Because if you've got one, like, the amount of times my right hand is just waggle, gear. Like, if you've only got one hand on the wheel because you've got your other one on the
shifter all the time.
Like, fuck. Now it's like, I need to find me one of these. Just so I can fuck around with it.
I don't even know that I've ever seen one. I know about them. I've never driven one. I don't think I've ever actually
My
seen
dad
one.
mentioned something because we were looking at these auctions the other day.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, your Uncle Dwayne had one of those, a fucking 3 on the tree. And I went, oh yeah, I know what that is.
I know what that is.
I know what that is now. Super embarrassing.
I don't think it's that embarrassing. But, there's things, I learn stuff all the time. I was messaging you guys about just motor mounts the other day, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I think the Cadillac's got a broken motor mount. So I got up underneath it. I put it up on the ramps, and I got underneath there and was looking at the mounts. And there's supposed to be hydraulic mounts on my car. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking, well, if the mounts are broken, I'm going to have some kind of seepage, or something. And that'll tell me that it's broken.
Right.
Right? Well, I get underneath there, and they're clean. Both of them are clean. And I'm like, that's okay. And I'm looking at the mount, and it's got 2, like, black connections going to it.
Okay.
And I'm like, what? Those are like vacuum lines going to the motor mounts. What's that? Because,
right.
I come from the Honda world, and they just use
urethane,
dumb rubber mounts. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what is happening? And I looked at the other one, and sure as shit, that one had 2 lines going to it. I'm just like, what? So then that prompted, like, Googling.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I learned about how a lot of manufacturers have vacuum actuated motor mounts.
Yeah.
And I had no idea this was a thing.
Yeah.
And it's used to stiffen up the mounts at certain times and loosen them at certain times. And I had no idea. So apparently what's probably broken on mine is the vacuum part of it.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming.
Is it easily replaceable?
Well, here's what's nice is I bought the extended warranty.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, okay. No, check it out. Yeah. So I bought the extended warranty, and I'm like, man, I really need to go get this. I just need to go get it fixed. It's like $100 is my deductible.
Okay. And
it'll probably be $400 or $500 to go get that repaired, right? And so I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll make a appointment at the Cadillac dealer. I'll just get it done at the dealer. It'll still just cost me $100.
Right.
And I'm like, well, how do I do this with this company, the warranty company?
Okay.
How do I initiate? Right. Do I have to start something before I go? Do I have to go and then call them?
Right.
Does the shop just call them? Do I just give them their number?
Yeah.
Like, what's the process?
What's the clerical shenanigans involved in this?
Yeah. And so I tell Chandler, hey, get in the dash and grab the paperwork for the warranty.
Right.
Because I want to find out what I need to do. And so he starts digging through there, and he finds the warranty plastic thing that they put all the stuff in, but it's empty.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm like, did I just get taken? For the cost of a warranty?
Here's your extended warranty,
exactly.
Sir.
That's what's going through my mind.
Right.
And he goes, well, there's no paperwork in here, but I can just call him if you want. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
It was like Saturday, I think. And so he called him, and they weren't open. So I'm like, it's fine. I'll deal with that on Monday.
Right.
So now Monday rolls around, and I'm like, where's my car's purchase paperwork? I know I have seen the warranty paperwork in there somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So I find the booklet, and I start digging through there, and it's a big stapled clump of things. And, 2 or 3 sheets down. Okay, here it is. It's filled out, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading the deductible, and it says $100 disappearing deductible. And I'm like, what does that mean? I know what a disappearing deductible is.
Disappear from my pocket?
Well, yeah. Yeah, right. I know what it is when it comes to, like, car insurance, right? If you don't get in an accident, they, like, start knocking off money off your deductible.
Okay.
I'm like, well, what does that mean for a warranty? If you don't use it, they just charge you less? No, I mean, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, right.
So I start the Google machine up and like come to find out that their disappearing deductible means that if you have it repaired at the shop that you bought the warranty at, then you don't pay the deductible.
Oh.
And I'm like, fucking bonus.
Yeah.
Right? That's $100.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Oh.
I just have to wait for somebody to be home so I can get a ride back from the shop because it's like in real Linda.
Oh.
But so I was telling my wife, I'm like, well, they want me to come in on Wednesday. I don't think you'll be at work and Shannon will be at work and how am I going to, guess I could Uber.
Right.
Kind of thing. I'm like, how much is an Uber from Rio Linda?
Right.
And Shanna says, well, not next week, but the week after, I'll be off work and Melly will be home. And I'm like,
oh, yeah, there you go.
Of course. So I'll just wait like 2 weeks.
Built-in Uber.
But I just thought that was interesting. I learned another thing that I wasn't sure how to make that happen.
Right.
But we had an interesting weekend at our house because my son is a GTI, and it has an intake problem, and I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, but it's kind of a known thing on certain intakes because I think they even had an extended warranty thing that repaired them.
Of the VW 4-banger platform.
Yeah, the 2-liter turbo intake has this problem, and what it ends up causing the car to do is when you cold start it like surges until it warms up, and then it's fine.
Okay.
And so he kind of drug his feet on it for a long time because doing the work on replacing the intake yourself, which an intake shouldn't be that difficult depending on the motor.
Right.
He drug his feet on that and like also found out that Volkswagen wouldn't cover it.
Oh, okay.
And so he decided, all right, cool, I'm pulling the trigger, and he bought the intake. And so this last weekend was the weekend he decided it's time to replace my intake because he had a check engine light and he needs to get it smogged in June, and he can't get it smogged if he has a check engine light.
Right.
So he's like, it just has to be done.
I forgot about that part, but yes, that's true. Yeah.
So he decided he was going to take that on himself, and the internet's got a lot of information on it.
It does.
And there's a YouTuber named The Humble Mechanic, and he's a Volkswagen dude. And his videos are very good. And he does a video on how to replace the intake on that motor. But it seems like it sort of glosses over a couple of areas of the removal of the intake.
Right.
And also doesn't necessarily tell you all of the tools that you need.
Right.
And I told Chandler to buy a Haynes manual. Just buy a Haynes manual.
Oh, yeah.
It'll only cost you like $24 and you'll have it forever.
Right.
But that shit will tell you exactly what you need to do, and he just wouldn't do it.
Do they still make those for current?
I don't know if they make them for current cars. I did just buy one for Melly's car.
Did you?
Yeah.
I have one for a CJ Jeep I do not own and the Z.
Oh.
Because it was
that was for the Jeep that you were working on for Emily's Jeep?
No, I have it's
for other Jeep.
It's for the CJ era, so up to like 86. For the CJs. Just for the one day I'm going to have one of these because I'm the same way. I had one for the Mustang. I had one for the Fiero.
Yeah.
We had one for the Grand Am. And the Z, Z's, yeah. But it was like a must-have.
Yeah.
Through it and
they're still around.
Yeah.
They're still around. They still sell them. I mean, I just bought one over the weekend or last week or something. They don't have one for my car. I would love to have one for my car. just to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not going to repair it myself necessarily, I would love to have them. They don't have one for my car.
Those are the
And I don't know if it's
CarTuber YouTube episodes, but in book form.
Yeah.
Before they were CarTubers.
Yeah, and you can get the online version. You don't even have to have a book anymore.
Oh.
You can buy the combo of online and book, or you can just get the online or the book. And I was like, just give me the online version of Melly's,
Right.
Forester. So, but I tried to get him to get one of those for his car because I figured it would be valuable for this particular. I mean, you're talking about a modern engine.
Yeah.
With lots of computer components.
Right.
And the intake pulls out the injectors with it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's stuff underneath the intake that has to be disconnected, and Volkswagen loves to use these triple square
Bits.
bolts.
Yeah.
And we struggled with one bolt in particular we could not get out. We ended up having to break, or Chandler did, because I jokingly said to him, we should just cut the intake in half because it's not going back in the car.
Right.
And that would allow us to get it out,
Right.
and then we could deal with the rest. So he ended up taking a screwdriver with a hammer and chiseling away at the plastic on the bottom where the nut was that we couldn't get off, or the bolt.
Yeah.
And broke it so the intake would come out. That's what freed the intake.
That makes sense.
Because that bolt is underneath and behind some like hard AC lines and stuff, where all of the triple square
sockets
that we were finding were too long.
Okay.
So you couldn't get something on it without this hard line interfering and having it be square in the bolt.
Yeah.
So we ended up buying a couple of them, and they were all long. I don't know why they're all real long. They're all like several inches long.
Oh wow.
And Chandler ended up taking his cutter, like grinding cutter, and just cutting it down, and then putting it in a socket with a rag so it would stay in.
Yeah.
And then trying to get to it that way. We struggled with that for hours. That was the biggest problem, was getting that one fucking nut. It's always one bolt.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it took a long time. There were 3 people working on it, 4 sometimes. I didn't help that much. I did help at times. When the other guys weren't around, I would help Chandler. And I was mostly like, well, let's get under the car. Let's take out the charge pipe. Let's remove this stuff out of the way, and that might give us room and access here. And so I was trying to like be the voice of reason and trying to keep the mood calm.
Right.
And that wasn't always successful. At one point, I had a magnetic light that was stuck to the hood, fell on my head, and then it fell in the engine bay. And that was, I had to walk away. At that point. I was kind of mad. But, wrenching on a modern engine where there's very little room in the engine bay is it's trying. It's difficult.
Yeah.
There are so many lines and hoses and connections.
Yeah.
It's really nutty.
It's because I sort of mentioned this. It is because I mean, as we talked at the top, like there is, I know a decent amount, but there are tons that I have not done, but have a warm, fuzzy understanding,
right? A vague understanding,
right?
Of it.
But may not have done that specifically, but have it in like third-party understanding or knowledge, or I've seen it, but I haven't done it myself.
Yeah.
And haven't done it to a car of my own. When I look at the engine bay of something like the RS, it's like there's only a precursory amount of would I even bother fucking with that?
Mm-hmm.
When I know as a dad, as a husband, that if I fuck up my car, I've got no mode of transportation. So
Right.
you have these tiers of apprehension of like, you and I, you made a suggestion of like the alternator, like really to get at this, you probably should have taken off the alternator.
Right.
You and I probably would have done that without second guessing you. Yep, you're right. We need more room in here. Take off the alternator.
Yeah.
An alternator, as far as probably its complexity in what I understand it does, and the connections involved on it, and how it would be fastened to the engine block in some form or fashion, I'm confident in that.
Right.
We'd be fine.
It was a couple of bolts,
right,
and an electrical connector.
But as Chandler's probably looking at it from a perspective of like, I only really want to fight these problems because I can't deal with another problem on the plate if that bolt is seized or if something, and now I've stripped this and we have this problem. So I get your perspective 100% because I would have been like, well, yeah, this is easy. And I get his apprehension too of like, I can only deal with so many problems because technically I haven't done this before.
Yeah, none of us had.
While I may understand what's going on here and feel comfortable with what's being described to me, I saw the thing and I understood the thing, and now I'm replicating it and I'm at a stalemate because that wasn't mentioned.
Right.
And so what else isn't? So you get the second guessing, I can't... Fuck, man. And Monday, I have to be able to get to work.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, lucky for Chandler, he doesn't need his car all the time.
Right.
So his car doesn't get driven that much.
Because he drives.
Well, he drives the
company.
van. Yeah, he has a company van that parks out front. So when he goes to work, he takes the van and the car sits. And then on the other hand, on the other side of that, when he's home, they end up taking Nicole's car because she just bought a new car like 6 months ago or something.
No.
Touareg?
Was it the Touareg?
No, the Tiguan.
Yeah, Tiguan.
Yeah, which is a great car. They end up taking that everywhere because it's nice and new and isn't lowered, and scrape wheels and the fenders and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume. So he doesn't drive his car sits out front quite a bit without being moved all that much. Yeah. So he could have gotten away with it, with it being broken. It's broken right now.
Right.
He just traded check engine lights.
Right.
And this is where we're headed, but he basically got all the work done. I mean, it was all done. There were some hiccups. We had a fuel line that didn't get reconnected and was just literally pumping gas all over my garage floor.
That's awesome.
That was scary. We had a high pressure fuel pump where the light had fallen off, and either it was the time where it fell off and hit my head and fell in the engine bay, or it was one of the other times it fell off the hood and landed in the engine bay. Right. It snapped off the electrical connector, that the controller computer connector.
Right.
It snapped it off clean so that we had to go and buy another high pressure fuel pump. Those ran anywhere from, I think we saw $140 to close to $400 depending on where you bought it.
Lordy.
So that necessitated a trip to Pick and Pull, which is one of my new favorite places. Not new favorite place, but I just haven't been there in fucking years, but I love that place. So we ended up going to Pick and Pull and finding a Jetta with the same engine, and it just had it right there.
Look that up so you knew?
Yeah, you can go on their website and what cars do you guys have? But having said that, we ended up walking every single row because there are so many cars that use the same engine. There are Audis, there are Jettas, you know what I mean?
Probably a Passat.
Yeah, there's a Passat, there's Jettas, there's the EOS, there's a whole bunch of cars that use that engine.
Okay.
So you end up walking across a Volkswagen and be like, oh, here's one, and it's got like the 3.6 in it or something, and you're like, okay. Or open up the hood and the engine's missing, and you're like, oh, okay.
Someone
next.
already got that one.
Yeah. So I was like walking all the rows, and then all of a sudden I get a call from Chandler. Hey, we found one. And I'm like, what? And so I go over there.
Yeah.
Tell me where they are. I find them. And they're, and then Chandler doesn't bring a wrench to get the 18 mil off the bottom of the pump.
Oh, fuck.
So I have to find somebody like, can I borrow a wrench, please?
Oh, shit.
But it was fun. We actually we had a good time. We left and went and did that and came back and he installed that and it's working. But one of the bigger issue is there were 2 connections under the intake that he did not reconnect.
Oh, 2?
There were 2.
Okay.
One of them is the one that you know, which is the coolant temp sensor.
Okay.
And the other one turned out to be the high pressure fuel sensor. So it's a sensor that reads the pressure on the high pressure side.
Okay.
And he didn't hook either one of those up. So when he actually got it running and the fuel lines were actually connected properly, he was getting like a fuel cutoff at 4,000 RPM roughly.
Okay.
When he would drive it and it would just not go past 4,000 RPM. So that was one of the problems that we tackled. One of the kids that helped him work on the car, his girlfriend's hands were small enough she was able to get in there and finagle that guy connected.
The fuel?
Both? The fuel one.
Okay.
The fuel pressure sensor.
Okay.
The other one, we don't know where it plugs in, and you can't see it where it plugs in. And so I don't know how he's gonna fix that.
Do you have the boroscope?
Oh yeah. No, I brought it back.
Oh.
I remember I borrowed it and brought it back.
Do you need to borrow it?
We might. That would be a great idea, actually. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. So maybe we'll have to do that. There was a lot of frustration over the fact that here his car is 100% put back together and there's one connector that's causing him a check engine light.
One thing missing.
Yeah. So, I mean, so successful, but 99% successful.
So when you mentioned how we went to Pick and Pull, like,
oh yeah,
90s me, just came like, because we both mentioned, like, you remember, I hadn't been there like 30 years. I'm like, 1993, 1992,
30 years.
I mean, it's been that long.
Yeah,
but like I said, I used to spend, when we talk about, where some of that wrench time, mechanic time comes from. That was
is just getting parts.
Is just getting parts, or I spent many weekends because they didn't have the like an inventory thing. You just, I kind of just went down and kind of wandered up and down. Oh, is there Firo here?
Yeah,
looking for stuff, or if I find one, I find one.
Right.
But you go in and you're looking for stuff. But sometimes I would just go and take apart something.
Yeah.
Just to
do it.
Well, it's not mine and I can't break it, but just to get like the hands.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Someone pull up the hood and find that the engine.
And you come back and go, I didn't get anything.
Yeah, there was nothing.
My hands
here.
are all greasy. I didn't find it.
What'd you do the whole time? I don't know. I pulled some fucking throttle body off of something, but I don't even know what it was. Nice. It was a piece of shit.
Well, it's funny because for not having been for 30 years, I went Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And Saturday was my daughter's Forester. She FaceTimed me and she's like, what is happening here? And she pans to the back of her car and the plastic shell that sits on top of the brake lens, or the rear taillight lens, had fallen off. So the taillight's still there, just the lens.
Oh.
Just the outside lens had fallen off somewhere while she was driving, and it was completely missing. And I'm like, fuck. Great. And so then I started looking at prices on taillights, and I'm like, I don't want to spend $100 on a fucking taillight.
So how much was it?
So we went to, I was like,
let's go back.
I look it up on no, this was on Saturdays. This is the first day.
Oh, okay.
I look it up on Pick and Pull's website, and I'm like, hey, Shan, they got some Foresters at the Rancho Cordova Pick'em. You want to go with me on Saturday? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, who are you? You know? And so then Chandler decides he wants to go. So the three of us drive down, and like, it had been so long. It's like, I mean, I know the procedure. I
don't know. Also, what? How
it's $2 to get in.
Okay.
Per person.
Okay.
And you can have them search on their computer for the things, and they'll print out stuff for you.
Like grid locations of the cars,
yeah.
or?
They have rows and
Okay.
and stuff, and they'll tell you which row it's in.
Okay.
And so we just went in and went, okay, here's all the Foresters that are from that vintage. And he's like, you want the newest one? Because here's the new. Yeah, we want the newest one.
Right.
Whatever came in most recently. So we went to that one first. And the first problem is, in order to get the taillight off, you have to have the hatch open. Well, none of these cars have batteries in them. Right?
Oh, yeah. So doors are
So
shut.
Chandler had to get in this festy. Oh, dude. It was so gross.
Oh.
Chandler got in there with the screwdriver. He had to pull the panel off the inside of the hatch.
Yeah.
And then get in there with the screw and then pry it up so that we could get the door open. And then literally for me, it's just like two nuts.
Yeah.
And then Chandler just like side cutted the wire. And so that one was the first one we got to. The brake light was in whole good shape.
Okay.
But it had like the body of the car had scratches like it had run through a bush or something.
All right.
And so did the taillight.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, I mean, we can buff all this out probably. You know what I mean?
Right. But if they're...
Yeah, not that big of a deal.
Right. Right.
So then we find the next one, and the taillights are broken. They're actually, the plastic is actually broken on them. So we found the other one, and it had perfectly good taillights, so we just grabbed that one off. We had to do the same thing. Chandler crawled in, pulled the back off, jimmied the lock on the hatch, cut it. Cool. We're using this one.
Right.
$11.
Hey!
$11. Well, plus the $6 for the three of us to get in there.
Right.
And Chandler's like opening doors, like wham into the door, doing that kind of shit.
Uh-huh.
And I'm glad he wasn't like breaking windows and stuff.
One of these days you might need that door panel. You're going to be like, who's the asshole that put dents in this door cart? It's
kind of amazing to just walk through there and just see the number of cars that are there in just a state of disrepair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're there for...
I know they're there for a reason, but it's just like, wow. I mean, it's just the guts of a car spilled out all over the floor in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Or just like the motor's completely... Someone came and pulled that engine out of that car and took it, you know?
Yeah.
And the transmission's gone too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that stuff just blows my mind. And it's kind of fun. I mean, it was hot as shit because it was like 92 degrees or something, but it was, I'm going to need to have to go back at some point. And it's cheap fun. $2.
Yeah. I mean, if you were ever looking to tinker without, what would it be like to just wrench on anything just to get comfortable with something?
Yeah.
Like get your toe wet in the world of automotive mechanics. That's for $2. Take a toolkit that you could probably get for under $50.
Yeah.
And you could probably do more than you would want to tackle in the hot sun and be like, well, I get to drive away.
Yeah. And I fucked that shit up, but I'm out.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not mine. It's okay. They're all broke anyway.
Yeah, that's why they're there.
But if you needed, parts for something like, the Jeep or something of a
interior parts,
right?
Exterior parts,
door cards, mechanical widgets, face panels,
subframes. I mean, it's all there. Brakes,
differentials.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, all kinds of crazy shit.
And I think what's funny to me is when you're walking around and it's all like that big gravelly rock, so it's like crunching under your feet. You're crunching around, walking and looking in in the brief distance, you just hear someone like with a wrench,
Oh,
like
you hear
wrenching, and
the
or
ASMR of a wrench.
yeah, or tink, 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 and they're like smacking something, and you're like, oh, someone's getting something,
Fucking
and
throttle
then
body.
you walk by like a row and you see like legs sticking out of a car that are up on top of like rims that are welded together, just to hold the car up, and they're like, oh, they're getting something good,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You need a starter? Yeah. I feel you, buddy.
Yeah, they're sort of like, I see, we're good.
I got you.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And Chandler forgot to bring the 18 mil to get the hard line off of the high pressure pump, and so when we went back on Sunday for the Jetta, and so I'm like, I'll see. There's people around. I'll see if I'll get something.
Yeah.
So these kids were just happy. Like a couple rows down, kids were coming out, and I'm like, hey, you guys got, I don't want to like hold you up, but do you have an 18 mil wrench of some kind, And they're like, oh, yeah, let me see. And they start digging through, and like he had like something with drawers in it. He was pulling, and
holy shit,
and
nice.
he's like, no, I don't have, and he goes, oh, I have a crescent wrench, and I'm like, sweet, I'll bring it right back. I promise. We're just a couple rows over. Yeah, well, let's wait here. Okay, cool. Ran back. Got it right off. I took it back to him. Thank you so much. You saved the day,
Yeah.
Because otherwise we would have had to drive home and come back.
Yeah.
But there's a pickup hole pretty close to here.
It's
two of them, actually. Two of them.
I'm going to go look at the inventory just to be like,
yeah,
I'm going to go pick something apart. Because as we were talking about like the apprehension, like the amount of fuckery that I would do with the RS, not a lot.
Yeah.
But and a lot of that also has to do with the complexity and the density, like the amount of stuff.
Yeah.
They're putting 12 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag.
You got a tiny little
right
hood engine bay
right
that is just packed full of stuff.
I would love to see footage of them when they did the head gasket, because I can only imagine the whole thing gets flayed open. Now, when I look at the Miata's engine bay is wide open. There is tons of space in there. And it's.
And what's the year on that?
12.
Is it 12? Okay.
It's not Z in mechanicalness.
Right.
There's some electronic fuckery going on. It's ECU and all that. So, but it's somewhere in a space where when I look at it, and a lot of it has to do with the space, it's like, well, I would have elbow room, figuratively speaking.
Right.
So like, okay, when something might not get lost underneath a cave of a runner or a tube or another hose because all of the plugs are stacked on top of each other, it helps ease the, okay.
Yeah, the anxiety on it is a lot less.
Lessons.
Yeah.
And when I look at like the Z or Emily's TJ, her 99 Jeep, things become more approachable as you realize, well, one, the electronic fuckery, but two, the amount of space that you have to work with. When you can then say, I've part of the social anxiety part of me, and I don't know what happened, because like I said, I was at Pick and Pull all the time in my teens.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, we need a part first. I grew up with not very well-off kids, and when something went wrong with the car, sometimes Reebies didn't have it, or you couldn't pay that price. So it was like, well, fucking it's a GM. Let's just go pull it off of something out of Pick and Pull. Well, okay.
Right.
So we run down to Pick and Pull, spend the day there, and you come back with a starter or a solenoid or a fucking distributor or something.
Right.
So to then say, oh, well, I'm going to look up some of the cars like the Z or a Ford-based RV or the Miata or any of the Jeeps are relatively close, all in the same function. So I could go, well, I hadn't really approached it in that manner with Emily's Jeep because I understood of what was going on.
Right.
If I was apprehensive about doing something in Emily's Jeep or a CJ or a TJ or helping Nick or something, where they wanted to do it homegrown and not go to a part shop, I would punch through Jeeps on the pick-and-pull site and be like, let's go over here.
Yeah.
Let's rip and tear on this.
Right.
No muss, no fuss.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, just to get the lay of the land, right?
Right.
You know?
Okay, so we're going to have to move these. You could do a dry run and...
In theory.
In theory.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it's going to take to us. You know, tackling suspension is one of those like, sway bars and drag links and all these things. Well, Well, let's just fucking go over here and take apart the front suspension on a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's two pick and pulls, and they're both pretty close to us.
I know the Rockland one.
There's one Rockland, but there's one off of Antelope Road. You know where PFE and Antelope Road is?
Yeah. Yes.
So you
okay.
you go down
the train yard?
You go past the train yard, past Denios.
Yes.
And you keep going, and there's like that little market on the left, and then you go down, and there's like that three-way stop. We used to play Ingress out there all the time on PFE. There's that three-way stop, and you can turn left, and that's Antelope Road.
Okay.
And it's just down on the left.
Fuck.
That's where we went.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A nice place. I mean,
did you punch through Subarus on all three locations to find one?
It searches all of the locations and
then
tells
gives you where it's at.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
There's another place over there too, which I think I'd seen it before. AutoGator. It's another pick and pull place. And that is down there on PFE before you get to the Antelope Road left.
Okay.
It's right as you come down. It's Atkinson Street, and it makes the corner to PFE.
Yes.
It's on the left right after that.
I don't think I've paid
It's called
attention
AutoGator. I've seen it.
Is it a yard too?
Yeah, it's like a pick and pull yard.
Huh.
Yeah. I had never... the only reason why I know about it is because they were... Chandler and his buddy were talking about it. I'm like, oh, I've seen that. I just didn't know what it was.
Oh, yeah.
AutoGator. So that's another place. But anyway, fascinating stuff, and I really enjoy that. I have a fresh taillight waiting because we have to go down next week for her graduation, and then we have to move her home. So that car is going to be driving back next week, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah.
So I have to take the taillight with me and put it on her car. So that'll be interesting.
Now you won't have to climb through and jimmy her lock. It'll just...
Yeah, I can just open it.
Just pop the hatch, dear.
But... she also her car needs a few things. It needs new control arms because the bushings are all bad.
Oh, okay.
Now, it may not necessarily need control arms. If I had a press, I could press the bushings out.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Because
you can buy bushings.
Is it that cost inefficient to just...
Well, from what I saw, the control arms are somewhere in the neighborhood of anywhere from like $120 a piece to something.
Okay.
A piece.
But they would come with the...
They come with the ball joint and the bushings already in there.
Okay.
You can buy the bushings though for like $10 or $15 a piece.
But you would need the press.
You would need something to... You have to be able to take it out and reinstall the new one. And I don't have that. That's the negative.
Yeah.
Right? But, and then she needs, like her... on her back hatch, the electronic switch for opening the rubber that covers the switch is trashed. It's gone.
Venus is on the Explorer. It's like so many presses. It's like you can feel
sticky
that it's like, well, hers is also starting to like crack. You can feel
this one
getting
is
like thin and weak. You know? I'm like, let's just use the remote.
Yeah, there's
I feel
that.
like it's gonna break when I press it, and then I'm gonna be like, "Fuck! How do you replace this silicone bullshit?"
Yeah, and then she has an oil leak, which I'm pretty sure it's a boxer. I'm pretty sure it's coming from the valve covers.
Okay.
So it needs valve cover seals, which is part of the reason why I bought the Haynes book. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do valve cover seals, I want to have a reference. Like, I want to know, number one, torquing like sequences for the cover. Yeah. And I want to know torque specs. I want to know all that stuff if I'm going to get in there and do that.
Right.
And that has all that stuff in there, which is exactly what I need.
How much was that for the digital version of the Haynes?
$24. Yeah.
Like why your son doesn't just buy his so he knows where the clip is.
Right. I mean, that's what I was saying before he even got started. I'm like, you should really buy a Haynes. Or a Chilton or whatever.
Right.
You should buy something so you have
Haynes
a reference. Yeah. You should have some sort of reference for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked, but I assume for a 2010 GTI they would have that. So.
Yeah. Because it's not like hard bound maps used to be. This is like when you.
It's not a Thomas guide.
Yeah, it's not a Thomas guides. Like it's okay. Everyone's adopted, and there's no real need for hardbound maps anymore.
Right.
But either in digital or in actual papyrus,
well, that
having the manual of torque specs alone is worth it.
Well, here's one of the things I want to do is I have an old Mac Mini, right, and I have an old monitor. And I want to get my damn garage cleaned up, and I'm going to put it out there so that I have a computer out in the garage. So if I'm doing a project,
you don't have to go in.
I can Google right at the computer and not have to have my phone out. I don't want my phone in harm's way.
You get one of those little greasy silicone things that go over the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
That you see in mechanic shops, so that way you can type without being like, well, now I got to wipe my phone.
Right.
Just, man, I've been typing for so long. I don't care if there's everyone. It's fine, but you get the little silicone cover. And tick, 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 tick.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what I want. I would love to do that. It's WIP, work in progress.
Yeah.
So I'm real proud of him and his friends, and like I said, I did a little bit of work. I'm real proud of what they did. I mean, it's not done. Like it's 99% there, minus that one connection. Real proud. I mean, that's really awesome. I tried to make my role like the voice of reason, right? The calm in the sea of anger, because there was there was a lot of frustration happening in the garage.
Yeah.
Even I got pissed when the light fell on my head, and that was at a moment we were trying to get that bolt out. I just had to be like, okay, I got to step away because I'm losing my cool. And I went and hung out with my wife in the backyard for a little while. And then Shanna went in the house and came out and she goes, "Oh, Chandler got the intake." I'm like, "What?"
But I just started getting drunk. Like, that's not fair.
The fuck?
The fuck is
and
this?
So I'm like, all right. So then I go back out to the garage like, all right, how'd you
and they're like hosing each other down in champagne like they just crossed the
No, at that point it was
line.
just him and I, and then I left him in the garage by himself.
Oh.
And that was when he decided he was going to chip away at the bottom where it was connected. We couldn't get it disconnected.
Yeah.
That's how he did that. So, I mean, that's good on him. He figured out a solution. He knew that intake wasn't going back on that car because he had a replacement. So that was the solution. And that was only, I think, because I said, we should just cut this shit in half.
Right.
As like a kind of a joke.
But the bottom line was it was okay.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
You have that. Did he get an OEM replacement or is it slightly aftermarket or something?
No, it's OEM.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. And it actually came with a new breather thing that the old one didn't have.
Okay.
Which is interesting to me.
More Wi-Fi's than GBs.
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is.
It's like probably at least 30 horsepower.
Probably.
They just add that shit on there.
Well, that was one of the bonuses, is getting the intake off. Oh my gosh, I could not believe how much carbon buildup were in all the valves.
Really?
Dude, it was amazing.
That's interesting given his usage of ethanol. It should...
I mean, unless it was all pretty moist. Maybe that's part of the ethanol, but it was really cruddy, and maybe that's just...
Wow.
They spent quite a bit of time. They put some valve cleaner. They cranked the engine so they could get the valves to close, and then put some valve cleaner stuff in there, and then scrubbed on it, and then blew it all out. So it was a lot better. It wasn't 100%, but it was a lot better.
Right.
In theory, if they would have taken the time, put the cleaner in there and then use like a a brush on a drill or something just to go in there and like,
Yeah.
that would have made it great.
Even better.
Yeah. But I would imagine just the airflow alone, because you're not gooped up with all the carbon buildup, would make a bunch of difference. Because they were all really bad. And I could not believe how much crud was built up around the valves. It was incredible. It was pretty bad. I was at one point, I was sitting in there with just a little pick, just like scooping crud out and like putting it on a towel, like one of those blue shop towels. And that was just on one of the 4 intakes, just like scooping crap out of there. It was terrible. So yeah, kind of amazing. And then it makes me like, okay, that's direct injection,
Yeah. Right.
What's my car going to be looking like, because it's direct injection too.
That's why all the new hotness is to have both, so that way it keeps your valves.
Oh, is that
clean.
what they're doing now?
Right, because direct
causes so much carbon buildup
because it's nothing's running past the valves anymore. So now they do like a hybrid where it's a direct and port injection to help keep
clean
the
stuff.
valve train clean as fuel runs past it.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that's one of the things that all of the cleaners are for. That's in the gas is for helping all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
when it's no longer running past your valves.
No, yeah. So it was an interesting weekend. It took pretty much the whole weekend for that project to get done, but most of the holdup was just that one damn triple square bolt we couldn't get off.
I'd be curious to know. So how did you tighten it? So there's the lesson, right?
That is what I asked Chandler, because they were remember I was posting like in Discord. I'm like, yeah, they're buttoning it up.
Right.
So Chandler's like, I got it in, I got the nut in there. And I'm like, well, how did you tighten? He goes, I just mad dogged it or something. And I don't think that he got it fully tight. It's in there, but he was not able to. Same problem we had for getting it off, because it was tighter getting it off than it was going in, for sure.
Okay.
So I have some concerns about, hopefully it doesn't back itself out, right?
Right.
Because he was the same problem. He wasn't able to get the socket on there square to get the kind of torque necessary that you need, because it's just buried up underneath there.
Right.
And there's shit in the way.
Right.
So
what did you say? It comes down to having a proper bit size?
I would say it has. There's definitely a recipe for getting that shit off,
right.
and I think it has to do with the size of the socket, the length of the socket, and probably a swivel,
like a pivot.
Yeah, and then another extension to get it past all the hoses, so that you can have it go in at an angle, but then have the socket on its square.
Right.
But have enough room that it's going to miss all those hard lines, and that's the sauce we couldn't ever figure out.
God damn, I almost bought a bit set, and they were all tiny.
Well, this is a number 10. So this is a number 10 triple square. So, I mean, the nut itself.
Well, I meant in like...
this is a short one.
Height.
Well, that was the thing, is we went probably 4 or 5 different places and couldn't find. First of all, no one carries them.
Right, because European.
Well, and then when you find them, the guys are telling you, oh, those things fly off the shelves. Well, yeah, because no one. You're the only ones that have them, apparently.
Yeah.
But we found them at CarQuest and AutoZone. No one else carried triple square stuff, and they were almost the same. I think the CarQuest one was like maybe an inch shorter than the AutoZone one, and they were just too long.
Yeah, the way you're describing it is like spark plug socket size. I'm like, yeah, you just need the nubs.
Yeah, you just want something like this long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we just didn't have that.
Find one.
But we did end up cutting the one down, but then you had to put a socket on it in order to get it to go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. Very frustrating.
Wow.
But learned a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
Car runs. just doesn't. He doesn't have a temperature gauge right now.
Pro-E.
And the engine doesn't like that it can't read that sensor. So, or the computer doesn't like it.
I forgot, when does he have to pass smog?
Sometime in June. Yeah.
So yeah, he's got to.
He's gonna have to do it.
Gonna get on that one.
Yeah. I mean, he's got time now. I mean, the hard part's done.
Right, and he doesn't need it desperately to get to. He has a vehicle for work, so he's good.
Yeah. Well, and he can drive it, I think. I don't think that. I mean, I don't know. Well, that's the real question. That sensor, what does it trigger? Fans?
Yeah.
What are the things that sensor...
Right. Do you really want to fuck with that? Like you're sitting at a light and it should kick on a pump or hoses or fans and it doesn't, so now he blows a head gasket because he overheated?
Well, and my understanding is a thermostat is wax-based, right? So it heats up something and the wax melts, and that allows the thermostat to open and then allows the coolant to flow through where it needs to go. And then the thermostat, when it ends up cooling off, that wax hardens, and so the spring lets go. Or I'm not sure exactly which.
I've never looked into the mechanics.
I've looked into it. So it's not like the thermostat is electronically controlled is what I'm getting at. So it should be able to flow liquid. But the real question is what electronic things are under the hood is that coolant temperature sensor triggering when it hits a certain temperature? Fans, I assume, something like that.
Yeah.
So you could run into a situation where a thermal issue could happen in theory.
Right.
Now, it's also possible that if it can't read that sensor, that it just turns the fans on all the time, which also is not necessarily something that you want because you need an operating temperature to run efficiently.
Right. But if you had a Haynes manual,
I know,
you, but if he had a Haynes manual,
yeah. I mean, like I said, I think they're just great for reference, even if I'm not going to do the work. I mean, I'm going to take my car and have the motor mount replaced by somebody. I've already done shitloads of research on.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, no one has any videos or any information whatsoever on how to do an ATS motor mount. I mean, it should be
right, because people who own Cadillacs
don't do that stuff.
Are not mechanicking on their Cadillacs.
I honestly, like, probably 8 or 9 different times or more, I have, okay, I'm going to find something this time, and then start Google searching and then never come up with shit.
Muffy, I'm getting a little too much NVH from the trans tunnel. I think I'm going to take it to the mechanic.
I mean, it's possible, but I mean, there's a Cadillac forum that I'm in that's got an ATS section even in there. It's not like anyone. I mean, I've read where people are like, "Oh, I've had the mounts replaced several times, and is there an aftermarket mount that I can buy to replace the GM ones?"
Right.
And it's like no reply for that guy.
Crickets.
Yeah, and you're just like, "Fuck, I feel for you, dude," because I just want information on how to replace them. I'm like, first of all, how do I disconnect these hoses? They just pull straight off? I don't even know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, one time only.
And then I'm like, because what I want to know is how do I get to the bolts on top? Like, what's the procedure? Do I need to take the whole bracket off? Do I, you know what I mean? There's like, I can see the mount. It's right there. Like, I can see some of the bolts and stuff. Obviously, that stuff comes out.
Right? A lot of that stuff started to go the way of proprietary car manufacturer in-house knowledge bases to keep those types of repairs and stuff at a certified blah 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 mechanic.
Right.
Like they used to do
Volkswagen.
Sure. The Volkswagens.
I just have to say Volkswagen.
In the 90s, like working on Windows programs, specifically like NT.
Yeah.
Microsoft had their TechNet program, which was essentially like Encarta, but for software solutions and early days of like online support for common documented Windows troubleshooting shit.
Right.
But it was subscription based, and it wasn't free to everybody. You had to have a TechNet subscription. So it was like, who's got the TechNet CDs? That kind of shit.
Right.
Take your phone manufacturer. I'm sure there's plenty of people that enjoy the pining about Apple's locked ecosystem, about being able to repair their shit that they keep locked down. Tons of manufacturers all do the same. That started to change once you started to see some of these proprietary modes and widgets and patents that make cars special, the free to get knowledge. And then probably on top of that, in your situation, Cadillac doesn't help, because probably the user base is not
it's a luxury brand,
is not inclined to be like also the guy that has a car tube channel where he's like, today we're taking apart the Escalade or the ATS or the CTSV. Very few people are doing that shit.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's like one of the YouTube channels I really enjoy is South Main Auto, and he's just a car shop. And so he has all flavors of cars. Most of them are American. But he subscribes to a thing called he just calls it service data, which I assume is a monthly subscription that he has into some database of some kind that he can pull up wiring diagrams and specs and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, and see all of the bulletins that are offered for that vehicle. And you put the VIN in and it shows you exactly what you're doing. And that stuff exists.
Oh, yeah.
But you are going to pay for it. Yeah. I don't have a need for service data.
Yeah.
I just have a need for just some sort of like reference.
Can someone just a little bit? I just need a peace of mind thing.
Yeah.
I don't need the fucking guts and gore.
Yeah.
Of specifics.
I'm just like, get up under the car. I can see the mount. There's the mount. Okay. There's the vacuum connectors. I see like the bolts on the bottom of the mount. I see how it attaches on the top. Well, how do I get to them? Because from here I can't. What do I? Do I got to take the shield down? Is this brace need to come off? There's a bunch of unknowns, and it's like, well, if that's what I need to do, I'll do it. But I also kind of want some knowledge behind what I just don't want to go after it and start taking shit apart that I shouldn't have to or shouldn't be doing.
Right. Like, what's that?
And that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Well, that's what I was saying in our Discord chat. Was like, sometimes the lesson learned for me over the weekend was sometimes you just have to know what other stuff you have to remove. That was the takeaway for me.
Okay.
What do I have to remove to make my life
easier for my main goal?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's sometimes easier said than done. I know you and I both watch a lot of car YouTube stuff, and I swear they make it look so easy.
Right.
And you know what? Maybe it is.
Right.
If it's not your daily.
Right.
If it's your daily, it's...
And there's, like you said, the channel that you were using as a reference is a pretty thorough, pretty straightforward, straight shooter kind of thing. As content creators, there is a line between an entertainment value, a how-to, and then whatever your shtick is. So that way you can continue to do it, and hopefully in a monetary way, right? So while some of the stuff that the gentleman who had the walkthrough was probably on point and close to like a step-by-step, some of the minutia is probably cutting room floor stuff, because it's like, because there are plenty of, like, you're a StanceWorks guy.
Yeah.
His first couple episodes that I'm into, very descriptive, but he's not getting into 100% 10 millimeter, 5 millimeter.
Oh, right.
Extension here, a ratchet, a torque wrench, this. Now, some people do get that way, but it's not always comprehensive through every episode.
Yeah.
So there's a give and take. It's
Yeah.
like, I get it. You know, there's a give and take.
Yeah.
The entertainment value versus viewer retention versus your own knowledge of the stuff, and then you're trying to do a thing to then take a break to then describe to the camera or to your viewers.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you hit record, and then you go back to the thing. I got nothing but props for the people that can make that work, because it's complicated.
It is, because the thing of it is not all cars are the same.
Right.
There are thousands of different cars out there, and while the principles of one car apply to the other cars, right? The procedural things are not always the same.
I was gonna say, you're all gonna take any advice we're doing today. You're gonna start getting in the shit, and then in 5 years, we're all gonna be working on batteries. So it'll be pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of batteries, I was so excited. I saw a Rivian yesterday at my Safeway. That was awesome.
So I can't.
That's a good looking
Did
pickup.
Chandler say what color he saw was?
I didn't ask him, but
I think he said when he saw it, Venus's was light green or light gray or something. At the point when Venus saw hers, there was less than 2,000 of those things on the road. So I'm pretty sure Chandler's was the same one as Venus. Either that one got wrapped black, or there are two in what has to be the most oddest density of Rivians in the consumer market,
right,
in Roseville, California.
Considering they cost $80,000 to start.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful out here. Now, is that because there's an Amazon thing? Venus floated a really great ad. She's like, yeah, but the Granite Bay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, yeah.
Well,
Plus
were they slumming it in my neighborhood?
Plus we have, yeah. What are they doing over here at fucking Safeway all the way over here? You know, the superchargers are right here, but that doesn't mean the Rivians are using those. So perhaps it's a... I got nothing. Yeah, they're rich people over in Granite Bay. It wouldn't surprise me. But then what the fuck are they doing way over here?
I don't know.
Because we're the plebes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're the bitches to the Granite Bays.
Hopefully, a guy with that much money, or gal with that much money, and a Rivian at Safeway return the cart.
Yeah, they should.
Because we're there.
They also, when they're driving that Rivian, they should check their oil, Tony.
Wear the mask.
Yeah. Yeah, they should wash their hands.
Wash the ass. All right, get the shot.
They should vote.
Yes, register to vote.
Yeah, and vote also.
Yes. Because that's coming June...
Yeah,
2nd?
it's our primary, right?
June 7th? Yeah, primaries.
And other stuff.
And do the kindness.
Do it!
And then we will catch you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it.
Bye.